Jack fiddled with the coat hook, deep in thought. It had been nearly a month. He was safe. He was. It was time to get out and relax a little. He stared at the door. Was that... Pulling a scarf from his neck, he scratched furiously at the wood. Trying to breathe deeply, slowly, Jack felt the pressure building in his chest and eyed the entryway anxiously. Had he missed anything else? The dull wooden floor had never shone so brightly, completely scrubbed of filth. The little room's walls were freshly painted white. Even the ceiling took on an almost reflective quality. Dust would not be found on the trim, nor dirt in any wooden cracks. Perhaps the door, though, needed a bit more of an abrasive cleaning. The porous material drank in stains. If there was an imperfection here, what about there? It had been a month, but still, what if? The sick feeling returned to his stomach and head. It became harder to breathe. He must go and make sure things were taken care of. He pulled on the coat hook and studied the door. It must be later than this, though, in case. Rhythmically, he tapped his thumb on the metal, thinking. The door, the door, the door, he thought. The door first. Grabbing his baggy coat, he decided to grab the plane and scraper from his shed. Hopefully the neighbors had gone in for the evening. A brisk early spring breeze blew the stench of the river upland. Relief washed over Jack. Fishy was normal. Climbing down a particularly tricky cliff, he was back at the spot. It did not seem that any other living creature had attempted to reach this part of the bank from above. A small oval of gravelly mud. There was only a parcel about 7 feet by 3, and nothing of worth to look at or retrieve. Flooding washing out the cliff sides and neighboring shores, this plot could only be accessed by taking a precarious climb or wading across the swollen river. The cut from the ground nearly a 15-foot drop. If one did not step in the exactly right places, loose dirt and rock would send a climber tumbling down below with not a branch to grab, only brambles and leafless, crumbling vines. Jack had always been good at climbing things, though avoiding the prick and scratch of thorns here was nearly impossible. Standing on the riverbank, he admired his handiwork. If he hadn't known, he wouldn't have known. He paced and stomped on the ground. No sinking. His shoes squelched against the mud, a wedge forced into the earth with one last kick. Maybe its condition wasn't as good as he had hoped. Pulling his foot free from the mud, the bank grew stickier with each step. Saturated, the mud was now soupy. Staring at his feet, he wondered if the ground had withered away so much to allow water to flow under it. A large raindrop hit Jack on the forehead, and a second, third. A heavy rain could wash the bank all away. Then this would be far, far from here, and that would be even better. Satisfied, he began the climb up. Luckily, he did not have far to walk home. Everything was finally in order. Jack crumpled onto his bed. It was the first time in a month he had felt able to sleep. Fears and nagging thoughts had finally been laid to rest. He had just needed to see it to feel safe. The gentle rain lulled him to surprisingly pleasant dreams. A sound awoke him in the night. Not a subtle noise, a loud one. The kind that sends you into an immediate, confused panic. Frozen, on edge, he listened intently. The pitter-patter of rain had continued through the night. The sounds of someone walking outside the cabin were clear, wet smacks. Inch by inch, Jack slithered from the bed and crept towards the window. He could see a shadow on the lawn. It stood still, wobbling slightly in place. Hesitantly, it took an uncertain step, 3 more, then stood in place. Faint light from a street lamp vaguely illuminated the thing. Slathered in mud, it appeared human, but didn't act right. Didn't look quite right either. The thing took another shaky step. They must have had too much to drink. Fell in the mud. Not many people lived in this part of the country. But it was a Friday night. The figure wandered in a small loop, ambling towards the neighboring cabin. Standing near a window, it wobbled in place. After several minutes, Jack shivered and yawned. Just as he had let go of the curtain, the thing did something strange. Dropping to all fours, it skulked along in the wet mess. On hand and knee, it moved much quicker, more naturally. It continued to eerily moan and gag and jerk around aimlessly. Closer to the light, it turned towards the window. What may have once been a human face was no more. The skin hung, softened and loose on the bone. There was no nose. Hair clung in places, fouled by disintegration, ground matter, and mud. But the eyes bulged, tripled in size, near to bursting in their rigid sockets. And they shone. But within, there was only darkness. No eye whites or irises. Completely void. A loud groan demanded Jack's attention. The sounds were from the monster's mouth. Human teeth protruded from the lips, or, more accurately, were piercing through its lips. They were not in the right place, sort of scattered and rearranged. Was it him? No. It had been so long now. It couldn't be. It couldn't be a person even, dead or alive. Standing, it stared in Jack's direction. Filled with indescribable horror and dread, he was drawn to a familiar bit of cloth around its neck, washed clean by the rain. Breathless, without thought, he reached for the axe, forgetting it was long gone. It couldn't be, he thought. It couldn't be. The thing's eyes shone brighter as it lurched closer. A soft sob escaped Jack. Of every worry and imagining, this was far, far worse. The only thought that now raced through his head was that he would have to do it again. Walking along the river, one can't help but be cautious. Even under the sun's rays, could you wake what is said to wait for you below? Would there be enough light to protect you from the angry dead? In the Appalachian foothills of Ohio, there are strange tales of horrific figures that live in or near rivers. Cadaverous and insatiable, they pillage cemeteries, consume unfortunate animals, and those who wander in their domains after dark. Unlike familiar beasts, who kill and eat out of necessity, the muddy men slaughter out of hatred. A legend, the remains of lost, harmed, or neglected loved ones will come back to life if they are left to rest near running water, wakened by their graves being stepped upon, rising from shoals and grabbing at the heels of passers-by. Muddy men are a local flavor of zombie. A source of fear. Few dare to walk beside the river after twilight. The consequence of dark deeds. These nightmarish figures influence not only morality, but burial practices, and have long bred superstition.